Hey y'all, it's me, Danny baby. You know, I got a new guest, a guest that I am just meeting for the first time right now in this moment on the mic with me today. But first, so we can get into our active listening mode, we're going to take a second. We're going to stim it out. Any noise and movement you want to make, let's go.
That was a good guitar solo.
So today I have Kandid in the studio with me, y'all. This is a really dope connection from the Arvada Art Center. And I need to say the full name correctly. The Arvada Art Center.
So the Arvada Center for Arts and Humanities.
Thank you. Okay, see? Me over here not. I want to make sure that they get credit where it's due. But Leslie brought this whole moment together for us today so that we could just share a little bit of what it's like to exist as we do. So with that, why don't you give us a little introduction? How you feeling today? What's going on?
Hello, my name is Kandid Russell. I'm feeling great. I just came off a really good morning doing some rehearsal for a show that I'm in. And now I'm here. And it's great. And I love this connection that Leslie was able to make for us. It's so good.
It's so exciting.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And it do be a Saturday. And I like to note that we are making moves on the weekends too, which I love.
We are,
this is
because
great.
I work Monday through Friday. So
I feel that. All right, honey. So I guess, since I don't know enough, what has you at the Arvada Center?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I have been there for, hold on, let me do some math in my head. I started in December of 2023. So
Okay.
I guess it'll be, yes? I don't know. I've been there for a while.
Okay.
So I've been there for quite a bit. I think almost 2 years, so maybe 2022 is when it started. But I grew up in Texas, and
Okay.
which is also a weird connection with Leslie, what we talk about all the time. But,
I love this.
but yeah, so I had heard about the Arvada Center, like growing up, because I have family that lives up here, but then also like a lot of the like touring Broadway shows would come through in Dallas, and they'd have like Arvada Center credits. Like I knew of it,
Right.
and when I moved up here, things were going on, whatever, and I was like looking for a change, and I saw a posting for a full-time. At that time, it was audience services representatives, like a box office person, and I was like, no, why not? I've done the whole like back-end theater thing. Might as well get a chance to
do something like
do
this.
something else and like still be involved in some way, shape, or form. And it's been like really fulfilling getting to like share my love of the arts with people that come in, and like, oh, like what is this show about, and kind of all that stuff. So it's like really fun to do that. Obviously it can be challenging. It is still a customer service job,
Right.
as it is nowadays, but it's still like very rewarding, just like getting to like make those connections with other artists, but then also like have that experience with the patrons that we're servicing that come in, because not all of them are super familiar with the show that we're
Right.
doing. Like I found out that the Natasha Pierre show that you saw, like nobody had any idea what that show was.
Right. I mean, I only knew because of Leslie.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was
Yeah.
like, I know it because, big theater, not over here. But like, I was finding out as we like announced that show that like not many people knew what was going on. So it was just great to be able to like get to explain that show to people and kind of see like that light bulb go off in their head. Being like,
Right.
oh, that seems really interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe like, no, I don't know if that's for me. And then I'd be like, well, no, you should
Give
go
it a
try
whirl,
Give it a
'cause
whirl
I
and
loved
see.
it.
Yeah, it was great. And I think that's a lot of like what we get a lot of the times too, is that if people are unfamiliar with the show, they'll come and they'll be really adamant about it. And then they'll come back, a couple months later to get tickets for something else. And they'll be like, oh, that was great. That was
Yeah.
awesome. Like, thanks for recommending that. So that's a really like rewarding at my theater heart of just being like, yes, I convinced somebody to go to the show.
Yeah, I love that.
So-
Okay, and have you participated actively, like, in a show, like in the essence of like acting or behind?
At the Arvada Center, no.
Okay.
I got pretty close. I did do an audition for a Laramie project last
Okay.
year, and I got a call back for that, and that was a really like rewarding
Yes.
experience for me. But I mean, it's kind of like a thing of like the Arvada Center is such like a great space in Colorado, and everybody really like wants to do shows there. And kind of the way that I look at it, just me personally, is like I'm just doing this thing as like a hobby. I
Right.
enjoy doing theater. I love like being on that stage and like performing with my friends, but it's not something that I'm like wanting to do like as a career.
Okay.
So it was very rewarding for me to just at least be considered for a callback and like not even get in it. So that was like really good. But I do like a lot of stuff like outside of the Arvada Center, more like smaller scale stuff. Still good productions, but like smaller stuff.
I love this.
Yeah.
Well, coming into, we were just talking right before we started this episode just about like what age seems like to us, and as, these adorable queer humans that we are. Yes.
Both of us.
It's just a really neat experience. I feel like I'm kind of like in a Benjamin Button way almost. Like I'm doing things that I should have explored in my younger years. Yeah. And so just to segue into that, as the young person that you were, what would your young version, and I would say anything double digits below.
Okay.
What would your young version say to what you are right now?
This is a thinker for sure.
We've got a minute to ponder.
Yeah, so I think that this is a tricky question for me to answer because I think growing up in Texas, a lot of what kind of, I guess all the way I'll describe it is a lot of the role models that I was seeing for myself as at that point in time, a young female presenting person was very much like the conservative, like typically moms will stay home and take care of the children and the fathers will go to work and like be the breadwinners. And so I think it was very hard to imagine anything other than that path, which I think a lot of that led to kind of the unsureness of who I was.
Right.
As a small child would be, and it was kind of just like, kind of that whole like accepted thing of like, oh, they're just a tomboy, they'll grow out of it. The whole classic thing. And too, especially like my family in particular is kind of a little bit more, I don't want to say country, but like a little bit more southern. Like my mom grew up in East Texas. My dad grew up on a farm. So there was some kind of that element of it too, where it was like, it was okay to be a tomboy because like they, like shooting guns and like going hunting, right? Like
gosh, we have like a lot in common. I'm loving this. Okay.
So that was something, it wasn't ever like frowned upon at all, which I think I do genuinely think now looking back was a really great thing for my development. But I do genuinely think that like 8-9-year-old Kennedy probably would be very proud of where we are now, just in the sense of there was so much uncertainty like in those tumultuous years of like, who am I, like what am I gonna do, what am I gonna be, kind of a thing. So
I love really this great. Friend. Okay. So growing up with kind of I'm from the country too. I'm Wyoming. Okay, so we totally understand this space, but I think the representation that we had at that time, as limiting as it seemed and as it felt, because that's all we knew, I just find it really profound to get to sit in this space and hear how you have been making yourself your primary partner to understand yourself further is what I'm hearing. And in the desire of like just exploring, like being part of Arvada Art Center or these other little projects. So what are these other little projects, honey?
I literally was talking about my director today. I was like, I'm going to plug our show so everybody can come see it.
Yes.
So I'm doing Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I'm realizing a lot of people know that show, which is because I feel like it's just one of like Stephen Sondheim's like great work. It's like that and like Into the Woods are like the two that like people really know about him. So this will be the second time that I'm doing it actually. I've already done it before. So we're doing that. It's going to be up at the Stage Door Theater up in Conifer. So up in the mountains, a little bit of a drive, but it'll be nice. It'll be in June, so it'll be all green and pretty and everything. And I'm really excited. I am doing kind of an interesting track. I'm doing an ensemble track, so just kind of like the normal townsperson. And I'm also understudying for Toby, which is the little... Try so
it's been a minute now. You're jogging my memory.
Like unlocking all those core memories. So I'm doing a double track of that, which has been a learning experience in a really, really good way, I think, for myself to be like, okay, I can do this, I've got this. So that's been like really enjoyable. And honestly, it did make it a little bit easier having to jump in doing both of these tracks with having already done the show before. Right. So I'm so grateful for that.
How long ago was your last show?
The last time I did Sweeney Todd was, I think it was the fall of 2018. So I was freshly graduated from high school. I graduated in June of 2018.
Okay.
And then I think Sweeney was in October of 2018.
Look at you.
So that was, Sweeney Todd was my first, like, I would say professional, because it was community theater, but like professional show outside of high school.
Yeah.
And so I think that this show will always hold such like a core like thing for me, and I made some really good friends. I don't talk to any of them anymore, but it, you know, what happens. But it was such a rewarding experience doing that, having that be my first show, because that show's tricky. I don't know if you've like listened to any of the stuff recently, but like some of the ensemble stuff is like ridiculously hard. Not even like notes wise singing it, but just like the pacing of everything, it's so fast.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of really interesting to try to teach myself how to, okay, I need to learn my ensemble part, but I also have to learn this part that's within the same song.
Right.
So how do I prioritize, you know, that stuff? So
this is really exciting because, you know, as we do, we continue developing into a different version of ourselves. So you have your 2018 version, and now you're in this space in yourself. And are you experiencing like excitement returning to this as this version?
Yeah, I think there is a lot. I don't want to say more excitement, but I think it's a lot more of a rewarding experience, because the first time I did Sweeney, I'm going to backtrack a little bit and say, so my vocal part is, I am a tenor. And that's the thing. That's a really weird vocal range to have as a biological, like, female, right? Just because it's a bit lower in the register and everything. So even still now, I tend to cater more towards, like, a male character. And so I feel like, honestly, that has become a little bit easier as I've gotten confident in myself, because it's like, no, I'm not going to do any of the corset dress stuff and sing the male part. I am going to be wearing pants and a vest. Like, that's just going to be what it's going to be.
I love that.
And I feel like it still happened that way when I did it the first time, because that very first time was, hey, we need more male ensemble members. Can you jump into this? So I was like,
You're
okay,
like, yeah.
cool. I was like, no, I'll do it. Like, it is what it is. But like this time around, like, I went through the whole like audition process, and I was like, I am only going to do like male parts. And I've done that for the past couple of shows I've done, and it's been really a rewarding thing in like setting those clear boundaries of
And I think that a lot of times artists, I've never really been in like the professional, like, you know, actor, actress, whatever any of that is, but let me just confess, I do modeling, but it's been a really cool realm for me to be like, I am not going to wear heels. Right. It's just not going to happen. Right. You know, I can dress up in many ways, but I can say no to things. Like, again, we can be given opportunities, but we're opportunities ourselves. And so I find it really fascinating within that realm, as, you know, though, you know, for myself as being a non-binary person, or a lot of times just feeling like an all person. It's like, yes, I can choose what I'm going to fit into. And just because like I look like I could do either or, I'm neither. So I'm going to bring my own essence to it, which is what you're already doing on the mic right now. And I'm just like in love with this. Okay, so, and you said that's in June.
Yeah, so it's in June. So it'll open June 7th.
Okay.
And run until, I think, the 28th, whatever that last Sunday is of June.
Okay.
And it'll run Friday night, Saturday night, and then a Sunday matinee.
Okay.
Because that show's a lot, and we didn't want to do a double show Saturday because Act 2 is, like, really sad and depressing.
Okay.
And then having to go from that to immediately switch back into the start of the show, which is a little bit more, like, lighthearted. Okay. So, and it's a lot. It's a big show, too. So that'll be good. So
I'm definitely going to be coming to that.
You should be coming. Well, you could hit up Leslie, because Leslie really wants to come.
Okay.
Leslie came to my last one. I did Newsies.
Okay.
In Lakewood, and that was a dream come true. I love that show. That was one of my all-time favorite shows. I have a dream of becoming the first non-binary Jack Kelly.
Oh my God.
And I want to do that so bad. So a lot of my Arvada coworkers came to that, and that was a very rewarding experience.
I love this.
Because I had been telling them for a year and a half, like, no, like I do theater, like I promise, I do theater. And then I told them, I was like, yeah, I got into a show, and they're like, okay, you got into a show, right? And then they all came and saw it. They're like, oh, yeah, you were in a show.
The show.
And I was like, yes. And then there's a couple of my coworkers. I wish you would sing more in the shows that you're doing. So I can attest I will be singing more.
Okay.
In Sweeney Todd. There's a couple of songs where I have like a little solo line. So
Oh, I'm so excited
so
for
it'll
you,
be really
friend.
good. Yeah, and it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be like all like monochromatic. Like all the ensemble is gonna be like black, white, and gray.
Okay.
Like very somber, and then all of like the named characters are gonna be a color based off their personality.
Okay.
So I don't want to give it away. Tanner, I won't spoil your vision here. But like
this.
based off of the personality of the characters, they're each gonna have like a color assigned to them. So it's gonna be a really cool kind of like contrast. I think depending on like we are the players of the ensemble and these are like the people, but how they interact with each other is going to be
It's going to give a really nice like sensory perception too.
100%.
So I'm loving that.
Yeah, and the space, I've been in there before. My girlfriend also does theater. And she did a show up there last summer. She did Once, the musical. I don't know if you are familiar with that. There was a movie
I know that. I actually don't really know anything about that, but that's how I like to go into plays and shows like that.
You might as well. So that one, she did that one last summer at the same space, and it's a really gorgeous like space. And they've got stairs that go all the way up, and they have a Juliet window, which is really cool, like on the side. So we're like playing around with that a lot, and like we'll be like running up and down the aisles. It's going to be really cool. So,
so there's a lot of summer activity coming up.
There's a lot of summer activity doing that, and then in the end of July to August, my girlfriend and I are going to Scotland for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So my girlfriend who does theater, her name is Olivia. I love her very, very dearly. She is going with a group that took a show last year to Scotland. They got invited to come back this year, so they're taking a new show. And the director was like, okay, you can come if they want. Like, it's like,
honey.
Great. So I just get to go to Scotland, and I have no commitments about it either. So I just get to go like fart around for 2 weeks. Found out that the Harry Potter castle is like an hour away from where we're staying. And I like lost in my mind. I was like, so what you're saying is I can go live out my Harry Potter fantasies in Scotland.
Yes, you can, honey. Confession, I've never read or seen any Harry Potter things.
That's okay. I haven't read any of the books. I've only seen the movies. But yeah.
But I don't know. I think it was kind of more of like, it just was like becoming really popular as I was kind of getting out of that phase. But I mean, I love everybody's excitement around it, you know?
It's like one of those things. It's like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter. And then I was part of the generation who had like the Hunger Games Divergent series. So I was definitely much more like Hunger Games crazy. Like I had the posters from the People magazine and the action figures, and all that jazz. And that was like my pride and joy was that, because I feel like I was a little too young for the Harry Potter series, because like the first couple ones came out when I was like little. And so like I didn't really like start hearing about it until the last one started coming out. But at that point, like I was still 8, 9 when they came out, right? And I wasn't at that reading level yet, so I didn't read them. But so big.
This is so exciting.
Like fantasy, sci-fi, you name it, I'm there.
I'm loving this for you, though. Scotland, getting to see a castle where everything is filmed. You get to be with your partner, supporting them. I mean, come on.
Yeah, this is going to be a wild, wild time.
Yes,
so
it is. This is great.
Yeah, all in the midst of that, we're doing all of our summer concerts at Arvada, so it's going to be a crazy summer for me.
I need to come into some of those really shows, too.
Yeah, they're really good lineups.
I actually walked the outdoor,
the amphitheater.
I did, and space. It's just so wonderful out there. It's just a great location too. I really like the location of Arvada Center in general, and even I don't know how you call the art form there, of like all of the statues.
The sculpture field?
Thank you. I walked that the other day because I was in the area and I was like, I need to get peace of mind. And that was really beautiful.
Really cool, yeah.
I don't think that a lot of folks recognize how much is offered at Arvada Center beyond it just being like, what it does for the community, but it also employing folks that maybe want to get their foot in the door. And like your experience, like I just want to have different experiences within it,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's so many opportunities there with just kind of all the different elements that we do. I think, I don't want to misspeak, but I do believe we are one of the largest multidisciplinary art centers in the country.
Okay.
Which is like really cool. If you like think about everything that we have over 200 summer camps that we're offering this summer.
Okay.
And those are like so good for like we've got some for like all ages. There's like digital photography, regular like digital arts stuff, regular like drawing, painting stuff, sculpture classes for kids, theater classes for kids, and then all of that for adults as well. Like we have this really large pottery studio. It's great. My girlfriend takes pottery there and she's getting really good.
I'm loving
gonna
this.
say
Okay.
she's got an
I didn't
Instagram
even
for
know
her pottery.
that existed.
So they have
Wow.
pottery classes. They're really, really good. They're really sought after. So if you really want to take one, you got to get on that train sooner rather than later.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get on and link up.
So it's like really good. And then obviously like we do all of our like theater stuff, which are always so amazing, and it's just like crazy the amount of stuff that we do.
Yeah, I'm learning
Center.
every single time. Like Leslie can like give me a rundown, and then like I'm like in my active listening to do. I'm like, I didn't even know you all had a pottery studio there. And there's been a couple of times that I've come to just like do a walkthrough of the gallery stuff going on. But you all have so much happening all at once, and you even have like kids theater, right?
We do, yeah. So we just finished TYA, so Theater for Young Audiences. I feel like people don't know what TYA stands for, so
Thank you, because I didn't know.
Theater for Young Audiences, yeah. So TYA, so we just finished that. That was Frog and Toad, A Year with Frog and Toad.
Okay.
And so that a lot is catered really towards like field trips for like schools. So they'll like come, and there's always like buses in there at like 9 a.m. in the morning in the parking lot. You're, all right, here comes the field trips. So they're in, but they love it, and they'll like go see the show, and then sometimes they can do like workshops afterward with the instructors, and like maybe do like a scene from the show in the workshop. They do like behind the scenes like sneak peek with some of the actors, and like show them like costumes and stuff. And it's like really, really a cool experience that I wish I had that as a kid. Like I remember like I went on a field trip. I know like as a kid we went to this Dallas theater. I think we saw like Sherlock Holmes or something like that. I was in like 4th grade, so all of that is just going like right over my head. But it was like a really cool experience. But I wish I would have had the experience that Arvada is able to provide, where you can go see a show, but then if your school chooses to, you can go do like a workshop afterwards.
Make something immersive out of it.
Yeah, make something immersive out of it, where you're like, just not going somewhere for an hour watching a show and then going back to school.
Because then it feels unobtainable. Like it's not a real thing that you could be part of.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a really brilliant part of Arvada Art Center. I feel like there's no ageism there, for one. Like it's just across the board and all spectrums. Let me tell you, I be a spectrum and I go there. But like you were speaking to, is the representation that we really do need that. And as a young person, I think I saw one play as a kid, maybe one. I didn't really, it wasn't an option. We had like football, volleyball, and basketball and track. That was like the thing. We didn't really even have a theater program. I didn't know. I know I would have learned a lot more about myself had I had a way of cosplaying versions of myself. And finding all of this out later in life, and I'm not late in life diagnosed. I'm not late in life to anything. I'm just arriving when I am, and when the room of acceptance for myself to accept it was. Do you think that within that whole thought, do you think that Arvada Center does a good job of prioritizing a person's ability to see themselves in a position like that, like in acting or considering something like that? And do you also think that they provide safe spaces for marginalized communities?
You're asking the tricky questions now.
I know.
I mean, on a personal level, I do feel like really like accepted and appreciated, which is really nice. Just kind of in the sense of just like being who I am is never like looked down upon or like questioned or anything like that. There's a video program that plays on the wall right outside of the main stage theater that's like quotes from employees about like how they feel connected to the Arvada Center. So there's one of me, my face just sometimes flashes on the TV, but talking about how like every time I go into work, doesn't matter who I'm interacting with, I genuinely feel like I am respected on a personal level, which I feel like in my past experience hasn't always been the case. Correct. Yeah. Because coming from a more conservative area growing up, it was always kind of like I don't know if I want to associate with them because they're not,
right,
following in the normative of what it is. So I definitely do think that we do have a little ways to go to be fully inclusive of everything and everyone. And, and it's kind of so hard with being so multidisciplinary to accommodate for every single person and, thing that somebody may be dealing with. The main thing right now that I know that they're working hard on trying to get is a gender neutral bathroom open for the public, because we have one, but it's only for staff, and you have to walk to Timbuktu to find it. But at least there is one, which is really nice, that is provided for staff, but we don't have one for the public. And so that's something that I feel like I personally have been pushing for a lot, just because, and that on that note too, we don't really have like a family restroom.
Right.
So it's like it may be sometimes hard for, like single dads to bring their kid in and have to change them because there's no like diaper changing tray in the men's bathroom because it's stupid. Or even like the same thing of there's no like hygiene product disposal in the men's bathroom. And I feel like that's just kind of like a national issue. And we can talk about this all day long. I have so many rants and rambles, but
though.
I definitely think that they are in a good spot for kind of where we are now. I definitely think that there's plans in place to make it more accessible for everyone as much as they can. But I genuinely feel very loved and included when I am at work, and even when I'm not at work and just coming to like see a show. It's like very nice that like, everybody's so respectful. And it's like, I don't know if it's because we're in Colorado or if it's because I'm working in like an arts institute or maybe like a combination of both. But I don't think I have ever felt so in like just included in and just the fact that like I can just be myself like at work,
right,
which is great.
It is great because I think the whole concept that I primarily grew up with was like, don't bring your personal life to work. And I'm like, I spend so much time with these individuals, and then I would do the people pleasing thing. So like, it's okay if you abuse me at work because like I'm just an employee, blah blah blah. But a lot of our life is spent with these work families. And so behind the scenes of it, like, okay, yes, you provide like entertainment in instances to the community to be seen and honored and loved by your coworkers is so huge. And so I've seen a lot of steps even since coming to, I think I've known more about the Arvada Art Center for like a year and a half now. And even just in the way that the greetings happen there, it's so beautiful how lovely everyone is upon even entering. Like you are really like it. I fear that some people may only get that amount of love and acceptance just walking through those doors versus being at home. So it's kind of like, what would you like that snowball effect in a positive way? There is a standard that Arvada Center is setting, and it's really like it's improving how I want to experience things. Like if it's not like that, I'm going to suggest it, or I won't be returning because I know that a big company can do that. Right. An entire facility makes that happen. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that awareness to it. Come on, we gonna get those bathrooms. We gonna get them. But we could talk about that all day. I tell you what. It's
that whole thing. I have
I have single dad friends that are like, where am I supposed to change my kid? You know? And so they're like kneeling in there and trying to do it on their legs. Like it's a whole thing.
Well, even that too, and just like in the sense of like, and this is my short little spiel. I'll say it once.
I love it. I need that spiel, baby.
But just like the sense of like the kind of the whole argument for gender neutral bathrooms is, well, why don't people just use the bathroom of the sex that they were assigned at birth? And then I do, and then I get weird looks from
every time
in people in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of where does that line get drawn? You know what I mean? So it's like you're gonna say one thing.
I'm like, what do we do at our personal homes though?
Right. And it's like, we just gotta pee, like, we just gotta go to the bathroom like everybody else. So that was my soapbox. I will not.
I like it. But being in a workplace like you are with Arvada Art Center, and you've probably, you're developing relationships, not just with, the folks that come through the door as guests, not just with the employees, not just with the artists themselves, but with your personal self. And being in a space where you're loved and accepted as you are, has it brought like a change in how you view yourself? Has it given you the ability to maybe be less critical and more accepting of just becoming?
Yeah. So I definitely do feel like I did kind of notice a big shift in my own headspace when I started at Arvada. Because when I first moved up here, I was doing like a lot of teaching stuff, just because I felt like that was kind of like a fallback that I had. Both my parents were teachers, and so it kind of just felt like something I would fit into naturally. So I started working in an after school program, and then I started working at a K-5 performing arts school, which was like really cool. And I was like, oh, this is great, because I'll be like around kids who like really enjoy that. But I did struggle with kind of the aspect is there's not really a term for a non-binary teacher, which was something that I did struggle with a little bit. And I got quite a lot of like Miss Kennedy. And I was like, how do I, this isn't helping my own like personal growth journey, because it's like I'm at work, this, thing is being said to me in reference of me, and I don't really associate with that.
Right.
So it was kind of like impacting that a little bit. Obviously, to no fault of the children, it's their kids, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. But I kind of was like, okay, maybe I need to take a step back from this teaching thing, because it's just not really what I'm vibing with.
Teaching.
Yeah.
In that.
Ironically teaching. Yeah. And then it was a kind of like a seasonal job. So like once the school year ended, the job was over, so I had to find another job. I started working at Target for a while, of all places, which was quite interesting. But then I was like, all right, I need something else. This, Target's paying the bills somewhat, but it's not like filling that void that
which is also currency.
Right. Yeah.
Or spiritual currency.
Yeah. Filling this void of needing to be involved in something creative in some way, shape, or form. And that's when I like found the Arvada gig, and I was kind of nervous going into it, just because Arvada in and of itself isn't kind of the most inclusive area, just because it is does have like an older population who have just been there for years, and they haven't moved.
They're grandfathered in.
Yeah, they're grandfathered in. So I was a little bit worried. I'd always heard like, oh, you're gonna work in Arvada, really? And I was like, well, I'm just gonna give it a shot and see. And then I did, and then the kind of one of the first things that they asked when I went in for that interview was, what's your names and what are your pronouns? And I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
this is awesome. And then the whole entire time, like throughout the interview, was just like very like respectful of like me as a person. I was like, oh, I could work here for sure.
I love this.
I could work here for sure. And now I do. And I've also kind of helped get my manager into the habit of pre-sending the questions to all of our employees, because I didn't get that, and it was a little bit stressful. I was like, I don't know how to answer this question on the spot. But yeah, so that's something I feel like it has been really nice to kind of just like getting me into a space where I do feel completely like comfortable being myself at work has helped my journey outside of that in growing personally.
Right.
Because I have a space where I'm home, and my girlfriend loves and respects me as a human being that I am. And then I can also go to work and be loved and accepted for who I am as a human being. So.
And the journey that gets to exist there, where you just get to become versus you're guided to a space that, somebody has this preconceived notion that that's what you should be.
Right.
I think a lot of times we exist in the preconceived notion, and I like to be in the post-conceived. So,
exactly.
So I totally understand that space. Again, not having the representation. I would have loved seeing a person like you as a young person. It would have given me a lot of hope that I would have never thought that I'd get to, be as old as I am, or that there'd be representation around me. And even speaking to age a little bit, like I have siblings that are much younger than me, but because of how we exist and are becoming, and there isn't like judgment in that, there's like a little bit of more of like nurture to like, hey, I'm going to encourage you to keep figuring it out, you know, try it a couple times. If it don't work for you, then move along. And it's really a beautiful thing to be part of a community that wants to grow and glow up with you versus be growth stunters,
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that being, in part with what you are finding in enhancing your joy, it is allowing you to cosplay versions of yourself, or tinker with the idea of what this looks like or that looks like, and just be in that, like water can be ice and steam and liquid, and we get to be all those things all at one time sometimes, or none at all. And so just to hear like this version of you being empowered because of how you've aligned yourself to grow is really, really impactful. And just to also note that I don't think that we take in a lot of like understanding that we're observed as well. And so just an observation, people learn from us, you know, they learn whether it's going to make them comfortable or uncomfortable. There are people that are just like, I just want to observe and learn and grow from that. And so just don't stop what you're doing. Or if, you know, just continue all the things that you're doing, you know, but I just, your energy and your essence and just how you are sitting here today and sharing something with somebody you've never met before. And now here we are. Now we're going to be besties. Let's hang out. I just wanted to use that accent a little bit.
That's a good one. That was a good accent, yeah.
But I think it's just a really profound experience to share this mic with you today and hear about the things that have helped you understand, you know, more about yourself, but also giving you like guidance to what is acceptable for your life. And I like to say that we really should be our own primary partner always. And when you do that, and then you start aligning yourself, whether that's work or passions or, you know, these things in life, we give ourselves a lot more room to expand and become many different versions of ourselves. We're all a spectrum.
Yeah.
We all are, you know. I'm queer, non-binary, all the things you could put myself into a box with, and I have a bunch of diagnoses. But what I choose to do every day with those is surround myself or put myself in places that will allow me to delicately become a version of myself than violently become a version of myself. I think we have been versions of ourselves strictly out of violence. And that isn't just putting hands on people. That's just our language and our behavior towards people. So yeah, I just wanted to give some honor where it's due. Just sitting with you today, you're just a very ethereal being, and I wish that I would have had representation like you.
Yeah, and that's why I think I did try to do the teaching thing for a little bit, because I was like, I want to be a good, you know, represent, you know, this community, right, whatever. And I was like, that is not for me. So,
well, you're doing it without knowing that you're applying yourself to it, because people observe you.
Yeah.
They watch your growth. They watch your steadfastness and choosing yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a big teaching moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, is kind of really cool, like being in the Denver theater community, because the Denver theater community is quite small compared to the one that I was a part of in Dallas. But it's like I have either worked with people that I'm working with again, or like I know them from something else and I'm now working with them. But like kind of going back to like your observation comment that you made, like somebody that I met and observed when I kind of first moved here was this wonderful human being named Cooper Kaminsky. They're actually playing Sweeney. They're also non-binary, so we've got like a queer little Sweeney Todd going on, so it's gonna be really good. But yeah, and they did a show with my girlfriend Olivia. They did Adam's Family. They played Gomez like a while ago. And that they were kind of the first person that I met after moving to Colorado. This was just so unauthentically like themselves, like as a non-binary queer person. And I kind of like, at that point, you know, I was like, yeah, I'm like non-binary, but I wasn't like super comfortable saying that just because of what I had grown up, you know, hearing and seeing and doing and all that stuff. And so I genuinely feel like meeting even just that one person who was unapologetically, authentically themselves really kind of kickstarted that light bulb in my brain that was like, oh, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too, you know, so.
Right. It's so beautiful. That just hit.
Right in the field.
Yeah, it did. Because the first time, like, I had heard of the term, right? And it just starts resonating. You're like, oh my God, I really like how that sounds. And the first time I ever got asked was this beautiful human, Paula. We were at Sputnik. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Sounds familiar.
It's like this cute little like hole-in-the-wall bar on Broadway. I don't drink. They have a lot of non-alcoholic beverages and vegan food.
Oh,
and it's a super cute little spot right by High Dive, right next to Goodwill, actually.
Oh, I know where the Goodwill is.
Okay.
I know exactly where that Goodwill is.
You can make a whole day of getting a treat and shopping. But so she came up to me and was talking to me, and she was like, and she just kept saying they, them. And I was like, oh my God, this feels really good. I like this. And I had, you know, and then was like, I am so sorry. I shouldn't have assumed, but are you non-binary? And I was like, yeah. And I just remember, like, I didn't put it out there that it wasn't that I wasn't comfortable. I think that, again, with all the preconceived notions that people have of folks, it was amazing to be conceived as that thought that somebody just saw me as that, and I didn't have to be anything. I was just existing, and that was seen in me, and I was like, yes, I am that. And had it not been for Paula, I guarantee it would have taken me a lot longer to come out as that. Simply, I was untethering from a lot of things and drinking and all the things that I was using to mask and, in the becoming that we all want to be. So that was my first experience. And it's really cool to be able to have a core memory tied into like when we choose ourselves. There's so many instances of that, but for that portion of myself and just being seen as a non-binary person without having to go and be like, these are my pronouns and they're not preferred, they're just my pronouns. It was one of the most impactful moments of my life. And since then, I think that, again, I don't want to diminish anyone's story, and I don't like making it all about these things, but there's so many boxes that we will fit into, we will outgrow, or some that just aren't for us. And so just really to just take note, like, it's a journey,
It's always a journey.
It's like, I may be this, I may really, really resonate with it. And just as the age of awareness is coming around, there may be a term that resonates a lot more for me later, or I may come back to a space that feels more safe for me, or, we just get to be in the becoming. So with all that being said, I just want to know, after sitting here being the representation that you are for young people and older folks, like, we don't realize how much storytelling we give to an older generation, even though we at times are told like they're never going to change. That's not true. They change seeing us live freely. And sometimes that change is that they're aggravated with us, and that's okay too, because everybody deals with that differently. But anyway, to the space that you are now, what would you say as this version of Kennedy right now, today? What would you say to the same young version of yourself that was talking to you earlier?
I think I'm going to try not to cry. I get very emotional.
I do too. We'll cry together.
Yeah. So I think that I kind of put some breadcrumbs on this, what I'm going to say, but I didn't actually like come out until I was a senior in high school. And I think that kind of was a lot of kind of the start of that journey of like as a young kid to where we are now. And just because I was so unsure. And so I think like the 8-9-year-old version of myself, honestly, I would just say like, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to figure it out. You're going to have some roller coasters that you got to kind of go up and down on, but where you are at this moment in time with where you are physically in your locale is okay. And it will, get better, and you're going to end up blossoming and becoming this beautiful butterfly that you are, who's constantly, molting and shedding and changing your colors, because like you said, it's a journey. It's like the yellow brick road that leads to Oz that doesn't ever actually finish. So, and it just continues. And you're gonna be okay, I think, is the thing too. And you may feel lonely right now, but I promise in a couple of years you will have a strong community around you that love you for who you are. So
wow. And that's to young Kennedy.
That's to young Kennedy.
I love
young
that.
Kennedy was very lonely. Let's just say that.
Okay.
But now we are good. We're in a relationship that's so good, and so very loving, and then have all these friends who are just wonderful and amazing, and who just love us for who we are, and that's like
so beautiful,
really great.
Friend.
And I'm kind of a spaz sometimes too, and they just think it's funny, and they'll laugh at me, and is what it is, So
that's really brilliant, friend. I'm gonna sit with that too. I think that we don't take enough time to speed down and slow up and really reflect. Like, we can be in such a goal-oriented society, and it's like, we got to get there, but then we don't do a lot of reflecting, or we do it in like and I don't want to say it like in a vanity way, like, oh, I have all these things now, but it's like, okay, like my spiritual currency, I'm aware now. I don't, like, I've done work around the loneliness that I experienced as a young person. Again, prioritizing myself, and that looks like a lot of different things, but just from sitting in this chair and listening to the accolades and even the things that you are encouraging to become better, baby, you're killing it. And I right now am like fan humaning you. I'm like, God, I needed this representation. And guess what? I'm still getting it because it's going to help me even work through some other things as the young person that I was. So in a parallel, you're the representation I needed.
Well, there you go. And you're the representation I needed. Oh man,
I
look
love
at that.
this.
Worlds colliding.
Look at that.
Worlds colliding.
And that's what's happening, you know, when we do choose, and that's why this podcast is living vicariously through yourself. Because I think a lot of times we let other people do that for us, or what is going to suit best for them to, you know, to look a certain way because we're around them.
Right.
And so I live vicariously through myself, and you're living vicariously through yourself. We don't let anyone else do that in our footsteps anymore, or in our shoes, I guess you could say. So thank you so much for being here today, for just sharing this space, not even really knowing what you were walking into.
No thoughts in my head, just coming in, you know.
And I love it. You shared a very beautiful side of things, and I can't wait to see it in the flesh with your show coming up in June 7th. Through the 28th.
28th, yeah, whatever that last Sunday is in June.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's the 28th.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I will keep posting about this just so that we can get some bodies out there and bring some awareness, because I'd love to support. And again, thank you so much for sitting in this space with me today. Is it okay if we share socials or ways to get a hold of you if people want to work with you?
Absolutely. Well, you can always find me at the Arvada Center box office. I'm there all the time. But yeah, I don't remember what my Instagram handle is. I think it's KennedyR22, I believe.
Okay.
That was my old AOL email address.
AOL, I love it.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all I'm on. I don't use, what is it, X now or whatever, Twitter is.
No.
Yeah, mainly just Instagram.
Okay.
You can be on Facebook. I'm a grandma when it comes to Facebook, and I'm constantly just like scrolling on Facebook too.
Okay.
Yeah, so my mom will tag me and stuff. So that's really the only way my family knows that I'm alive, is through my mom on Facebook and the occasional group text message that gets sent. But yeah, hit me up on social.
Okay. I'll link that in too.
Yeah.
And then you can see the events that Kennedy's going to be in.
Oh, yeah. I'll post about Sweeney. Tickets are on sale. So
okay. We'll log that in.
See it. It's going to be great.
Oh, I'll be there.
We're going to keep doing this theater thing because I didn't do it for that long, and now I'm doing it again. I'm just I need to keep doing this.
I love that.
So,
and if you feel that it's nourishing your soul and enhancing your joy, and then you got to keep it.
Yeah, especially with the kind of just the hobby aspect of it rather than that's what I'm chasing.
Right.
So it's a good
I'm loving this.
hole in my heart that I didn't know was there. And then I did a show and I was like, oh, great. That's what was missing.
Yeah. I got it, friend. Well, like you said, you can find Kennedy on the social that way. I will tag everything in this episode as well. Just a reminder, everyone, that I am not here in a toxic encouragement, toxic happiness, and this is how it is. It takes a lot of work. I'm not here to encourage people either. If this resonates with you, awesome. If it doesn't, then move along. We're not here to minimize anyone's journey or to be dismissive of anyone's journey. And as I always say at the end of these episodes, continue creating earnestly in love. We'll talk soon.